Hello and welcome to this PPDB demonstration. In this instance we're going to be exploring an individual record for a particular substance. I'm going to pick one here. I'm going to search for one. I'm going to search for chlorothalonil, and so we can bring up the page. So when you come to the page, it's obviously got the essential information at the top, the name and what it's also known by, a summary, and then various hazard alerts. Now these are simply designed to draw your attention to particular issues when, say, the ecotoxicity is high or human health hazards exist. And if you hover over these little icons here, it uses essentially a red, amber, green system, so green being low, red being high. And when you hover over them, it gives you the issue that's actually the point here. So it's saying there's a moderate alert for drain flow being slightly mobile, and also potential for particulate bound transport being medium as well. Likewise for ecotoxicity, again high alerts for fish acute and fish chronic and Daphnia and so on. And for human health, it's been flagged up as an endocrine disruptor and also has reproduction and development effects. And below each of these statements, you'll see this little icon here, and that will take you a link directly to, in this case, human health. And the others do the same here for ecotox and so on. So this is just a quick way to say, okay, if you see they're all green, then you know it's a relatively benign substance, but if there's ambers and reds, then there's particular things that are drawing your attention to. We then come down to sort of general information, and you'll see on the page in various places there's these little information icons, and if you click on any one of those, it will take you to the support and help document for that particular aspect. Then we got general information, then we got regulatory status, whether it's approved or not approved for both in Great Britain and in the EC, and also in other places around the world. You can see the breakdown across the EU 27 countries here. We've also got additional information on approvals there for where it's used and so forth in Australia and the USA. Then we get into things like chemical structure. And we have a 2D diagram available which we maintain ourselves, so we can click on that and it brings up a page with its CAS number, molecular mass and so forth. And we've also got, in some instances, linked to the Cambridge Crystallographic Data Center 3D diagrams. So if you click here on this little red icon here, that will take you to the CCDC's page for that substance, and then if you click on one of these here, then you get the 3D viewer, and then you can manipulate that on however you like to explore it. So it's just another way of accessing a related resource. So we've got various details on isomerism, formula, chemical structures. Then we've got sort of general status information. What is it? What's a fungicide in this instance? Its purity, things about impurities there, various identifiers in terms of CAS numbers, EC numbers and so forth, and then you can see you can search by those as well. I've got another video about that. If we come down, we'll also see whether there's any related substances, and again there's a link through to one here which just takes you to that page. Then various commercial information in terms of certain brands and manufacturers. Those are sort of the main ones. It's not exhaustive by any means, but it just is some examples there. Details about its commercial production and formulation, and something that's we've been doing recently is adding in details about the climate impacts from production and use, and so there's various information about carbon dioxide equivalent emissions in this instance. Then we're coming down into the environmental fates section. Now there's a couple of things to point out here. Obviously you've got your items down the left, and again if you're not sure any of these, click on the little information icon there. Then you've got the values attached to each of those properties. Then over here we've got additional information on the actual sort of measurements being made, but also we've got what we call our quality barometer. Now we classify the data that's stored in the database using this system of letters and numbers. and if you hover over that, it tells you exactly what it is. If you're on a touch screen, you might find rather than hovering over it, you just tap on it with your finger, and that will bring up the same information. In this case, it explains exactly what A5 means. So in this case, it's come from a regulatory source, it's a EU dossier in this case, and it's got the highest score, 1 to 5 we score it, so it's verified data used for regulatory purposes. If you want to know what all the other categorizations are, you can open up this page here and it tells you what the letters mean, and then obviously explains the numbers 1 to 5. In this case it's verified data we have with A5, but in other cases the lower number, it tells you what that means. So we can continue coming down. We've also got, in some instances where it's applicable, interpretation of those values, and we saw that a little bit with the hazard alerts at the top of the page, where we're classifying things as high, medium and low, for example. We're using that interpretation as a way of flagging up for those hazard alerts. So we've got all that information there as well. Then we come down to degradation, so you've got all your sort of DT50 values there, dissipation rates and so forth, absorption and mobility, details there, all in a similar sort of format. Coming down again, in some instances, into the fate indices here, we've got another little icon that's being flagged up here. If you click on that, that will throw up a little pop-up. In this case, it's explained that it's used as a general indication of hazard only. So it's just making you aware exactly what this particular index in this case means. So we've got things which are related to groundwater in terms of GUS and SIGRO, potential for particulate bound transport, loss via drain flow and so forth, down the list there, again with numbers and interpretation. Some instances it's also explaining that these have been calculated, because they're very often calculated from things like the DT50 and also the absorption values, so your KOCs and your KFOCs. So it's helping you understand that's where it's been derived from. Then we come down to a section on metabolites, where they're split between soil metabolites and groundwater metabolites, and where they exist in the database there'll be links through to them, so you can just go directly through, as we can see there. And again, it's got the information of whether it's major or minor fraction, and then the estimated formation fraction there as well. Similarly, same thing for groundwater metabolites, but also we've also got information on its relevancy based on the EC Sanco regulation, as you can see there. So that explains that. We've got finally a bunch of other known metabolites. So in this case, this particular substance has a lot of metabolites, and it's explained in this case it's for rats or crops and so forth. So you've got the details of what where these are ending up. That leads us nicely into ecotoxicology, similar sort of format, all your parameters down the left here, then your values for those parameters. Then we've got our quality barometer again, and we can see hovering over that or clicking on it on a touch screen shows you what those values mean. And then our interpretation again, whether they're high, moderate or low ecotoxicity in this instance. So we've got a whole range of things from mammals, birds. It's split between terrestrial and aquatic, as you'll see shortly. Birds, earthworms, collembola, non-target plants, honeybees, bumblebees, mason bees, other bee species, and various beneficials, including ladybirds, lacewings, parasitic wasps, predatory mites, ground beetles. These are things that we're trying to expand all the time as the data becomes available. Then that leads us into the aquatics. As I said, we present that separately, but same format, data items down the left, the actual value, then quality and species, of course, which is important to know which species have been used, and then the interpretation. So as we saw at the top in the hazard rating system, we had a number of high alerts for aquatic species, so we can see that here now. Then that leads us down to human health. Obviously we've got mammalian toxicity there, but then things like acceptable daily intake, acute reference dose and so forth, all in the same format, values, quality score and species and interpretation. Then things like various exposure routes, maximum residue levels. We've got links through to, say, the EU MRL database, so you can click on that and that will open up that page there. drinking water standards, and so on. Then we've got this area here, which is health issues, which are hazard based, as it states there in brackets. And like other areas, you can, where it's got like question mark, we can hover over that question mark or click on it on the touch screen for identifying what that means. In this case, possibly status not identified. Similarly, for the genotoxicity code, you can hover over that so we can see its chromosome aberration and it's number 3, which is negative. And likewise, we've got DNA damage, gene mutation, genome mutation, and so on. So you can see what those are. Things like endocrine disruptant, so yes, known to cause a problem for the tick here. And likewise for the others, so not a neurotoxicant, yes, can be a respiratory tract irritant, and so on. So it's giving you all that information with sort of yes, no's, maybes, question marks, and then further information where available. Then we got things on handling issues and various classifications like CLP or WHO classifications. And again, waste disposal and packaging, and again you've got little pop-ups here to find out what that actually means. And then finally, we're almost at the bottom now, we've got various translations, because you do get some variants in different languages, and these will be picked up when you're searching as well. So it just gives you, for a range of different languages there, how it's spelt essentially in those languages, so that we know we're talking about the same thing even if we're from different countries. That pretty much brings us to the end of the report. Again, it's got when the record was last dated, as you can see there, and a link to our main paper that you should cite if you do want to reference any particular record in the database. This is the paper to use. It's our main one that we wrote a while ago now, but please use that for any citations. I think that brings me to the end of this demonstration. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for your time. And if you do have any questions, do feel free to contact us at the email address area@hearts.ac.uk. Thank you.